Hi, and welcome to another edition of Right on Rangers Live, coming at you after a 38-24 victory over the Clemson Tigers in the first round of the college football playoff. It's a good day to be a Longhorns fan. Hook 'em horns, and thank you for joining us here at Right on Rangers, where we cover everything sports, putting a big emphasis on all the teams we love from the great state of Texas, including the Rangers and the Longhorns and the Cowboys, all the teams we love, especially from the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Today, we're talking Longhorns. Again, thank you for choosing Right on Rangers for all of your Longhorns content. Let's get right into it. We're going to be taking all of your comments and questions along the way. Wanted to wait until that last game finished out, Ohio State, Tennessee. Thought that game was going to be a lot better, by the way. I did not expect Ohio State to do that. Maybe there was some of y'all out there that thought that that was what was going down, but I must say I was not expecting a 30-point beatdown, whatever the final score ended up being. That was a ridiculous win from Ohio State. And Tennessee, not sure what happened, did not watch the whole game. A lot going on for me today after the Horns victory, but embarrassing loss for Tennessee. I know it's a road game, but for that poor of a showing, I mean, look, that was really the story. I felt like out of almost all the games today. I know the Horns game was close at a couple of different points, kind of like every game that kind of gets a little bit close with Texas. Never really felt like the Horns were in any danger of losing that game. I mean, I don't know. Maybe some of y'all, when they ended up making it, a 7-point game, got a little bit nervous. You just feel like, at least for me, with the team that Texas has, they're always going to make it interesting. Like, it's going to be rare that they actually get that kill shot 9 times out of 10 in a ball game. I mean, they could have put Clemson away multiple different times today. I will say that is one thing that I just feel like on a consistent basis is a little bit lacking with Texas, just that kill shot mentality. You just had not get it and did not get it at different points in this one. And I'm glad the Horns come away with the victory. And they do so in dominating fashion on the ground, nearly rushing for 300 yards on the day. I think that's the place where you have to start. Rather than going in on things that we wish would have been done better, or things where we wish Texas would have improved upon, I think it's much better. Let's focus on the positive, and then we can get into some of the nitpicky, tick-tacky, and things that we're going to kind of pull apart a little bit. Looking forward, looking ahead to next week in the matchup against Arizona State. Let me keep going. So let's start with the running backs. Quintrevion, Wisner, Jaydon Blue, a huge game from them. Each of them crosses the century mark. Game ball has got to go to each of those guys. Jaydon Blue, especially with the 77-yard rushing touchdown, knockout punch. All right, that was kind of the kill shot. Look, we're talking about earlier Texas lacking that kill shot mentality. I felt like that was a bit of a kill shot at the end there, but it took a little while to get there. Jaydon Blue, though, big 77-yard rush. Great to see Steve Sarkisian really running and really leaning into the run game. I think that we started it a couple weeks back with the Georgia game, and we talked about the lack of really buying into running the football. Quinn Ewers and the rush game, pretty balanced. I think that, in fact, the rush game was a little bit behind the play totals for the pass calls. And I really feel like today Sark made it a point to establish that run game early on, and it paid dividends. 48 yards, 48 carries, 292 yards on the ground. This is when Texas is at its best. I was live tweeting out during the game, and when Texas gets this kind of performance on the ground, it is very hard to beat them. You're not going to beat the Texas Longhorns when they are able to run the ball like this. Georgia, both times they played Texas, what have they been able to do? Stop the run. And so, going into a matchup against a Georgia, if they were to meet for the trilogy this season, or if they are to meet against a team that can match them at the line of scrimmage, that could potentially be troubling. That is going to be what a lot of teams try to take away. I do feel like Quinn Ewers did a nice job today managing the game, as Sark put it. The wide receiving corps for this Texas Longhorns team, they have got some dudes. They've got some really good players. So I don't want anybody to take this the wrong way or read this as a hot take, but I do feel like, having watched this team week after week, 14 games now, the wide receiving corps feels like the weakest part of this team. And I think that's a good thing to be able to say, because they're still pretty dang good. But you saw today some of the things that really have been rearing their head all season long with the wide receivers. You saw some of the drops today. In fact, one of the drops, I believe it was DeAndre Moore, leads directly to an interception that maybe could have been a pick six. I feel like that was actually a pretty good call on the crackback block. Defender, well, in that case, the Texas center, Jake Majors, doesn't have his head all the way around. I do feel like that is a properly assessed penalty. That being said, I've seen a lot more violent and dirty crackback blocks in all my time watching football, but I do think that they properly assessed that call. That being said, that could have been huge, and that's a ball that Quinn Ewers puts right on the money. DeAndre Moore just flat out drops it, and it falls right in the hands of a Clemson Tiger defender. That's the kind of stuff that goes down as a pick for Quinn and brings down the rating, but we all know better than watch the game. And that was a ridiculous interception, and you just feel like that's happening at least once or twice per game with the wide receivers. Again, they made some great plays. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that they suck. They're terrible. They're no good. I just think if you look at all of the different units on this Texas team, both on defense and offense, I feel like the wide receivers are the weakest link on the team. And that's a good problem to have because, again, they're still, I think, all pretty good collectively. But you just haven't had a dude consistently step up. I know Isaiah Bond was out today. Even Bond, when healthy, I feel like hasn't been that guy, hasn't been that dude that's constantly racking up 9-10 receptions, 100+ yards. It would be nice to have a guy like that. It would be nice to have a guy like that this year. I don't want to sit here and excuse everything in the passing game and put it on Quinn or put it on the wide receivers. I do think it's a collective effort, but I think as you sit back, you look at all the criticism that Quinn Ewers takes, maybe there's an argument that one of these guys on the roster right now could be one of the top elite wide receivers in the country if Sark was drawing it up differently or if Quinn was delivering the ball better. But I don't know. I feel like in a way you look at what the wide receivers have done and you almost have to start giving Quinn a little bit of a pass. You have not seen one of these wide receivers really step up and just be consistently great every single game. And there are wide receivers in college football like that. So, look, this is a good problem to have. And again, the wide receivers that Texas has are not terrible. Don't get it twisted. They're not bad. But I will say, on a team that as a whole, I think is very talented, they do strike me as the dudes that need to step it up just a little bit more. We need somebody that's getting that consistent separation, that's making a difference on the outside. It was messy in past weeks with blocking on the edge, stupid penalties. We had multiple wide receivers get holding penalties in past weeks. It's just little stuff. And the drops. Again, the drop today, DeAndre Moore, just painful. Painful drop. So I know Quinn Ewers is getting a lot of criticism right now. I feel like you got to start looking at the wide receivers a little bit and just passing off a little bit of the blame to them. I know that when we're watching it live on TV, we don't always get to see the separation. We don't always get to see what they're doing, how they're breaking away from the defensive back that's guarding them. We don't always get to see that. We see Quinn Ewers holding onto the football, throwing a bad pass. We don't always see what are the wide receivers doing in their individual matchups every play. So a part of me after watching today, Gunnar Helm, great game, 6 receptions, 77 yards. And clearly this was a game where Sark committed to the run. Got to keep that in perspective. But my question would be, at what point do you start looking at the wide receiver unit and say to yourself, Quinn could have a little bit more to work with? I mean, compared to some of the elite programs in college football, some of the elite wide receivers out there. When do we start saying, not the full thing to excuse Quinn out of every bad performance, but at what point do we start saying the wide receivers got to step up a little bit and give Quinn a little bit more wide open targets, getting better separation, all of that? I think that would be my biggest takeaway from today, and the biggest thing that I hope offensively Texas continues to improve on as they try to get back to the semifinal, which obviously they were in last year. Hopefully a national championship game appearance. But that's all I got. That's the big lead in. Let me take questions, comments. I hope that we can get in as much as possible. I'll have to sift through, see what we've got going on. We'll talk other teams as well. We got a bunch of college football to go through today. I have a few general comments about the college football format and all that, but I want to stop first, say what's up, get comments in, all that kind of stuff. So appreciate all y'all tuning in, by the way. I see a bunch of people on TikTok have followed while I've been going live right now. I really appreciate that. Thank you for the likes as well. Really means a lot. If you're not following, you're not subscribed yet to the channel, and you're watching, would greatly appreciate you hit that follow or subscribe button. Clearly, you know my team and you know what team I love, but we talk all sorts of college football here. It really don't matter. We cover NFL. Of course, I love the Cowboys. Some of y'all know that. All the teams I love from Texas are what we mainly cover on this channel. Texas Rangers fan, you probably see the backdrop right now. But hey, give a follow. We'll talk sports every time I go live. It's something new, and y'all keep it fresh for me with the comments and questions, so thank you. Keep going here. Let's see here. Hey, what's up, my guy? Thanks for tuning in. So glad I did not take the under. Texas beat the spread. Texas beat the spread by a half point, and it was dicey in this one. The spread that I saw, the final spread, was 13.5. What's up, everybody, by the way? Hook 'em Horns, all my Horns fans in the chat. It was a 13.5 point spread at the close, I believe. And there were some Texas backers that were probably biting those nails right off at the end of this one, especially as Arch Manning comes in the game and fumbles that fourth down play. The ball kind of squirts away. Thought if Arch doesn't get down on that ball, by the way, on that 4th and 1, that's probably a scoop and score. And then Clemson is probably covering this bet. And even after that, Clemson actually drove down, got the ball down to the Texas 25 or 30, and they had a chance to cover the spread at the end. This was not a game that I thought, as it unfolded, especially in the fourth quarter, it was not a game I thought Texas was going to end up covering. But sure enough, they get that Jaydon Blue 77-yard touchdown, and the defense is able to make a crazy goal line stand. I think it was 3rd and 1 for Clemson. And then after that, 4th and 1, and then Texas gets the big goal line stand. They drive down the ball. They drive the ball down into Clemson territory, and then the Arch Manning fumble happens. I don't know if it was his fault. They never really showed a great replay. I know they had a backup center in the game. By the way, it sounds like Majors could have gone back in, what was held out for precautionary reasons. We talked about Majors coming out of the game on that crackback block that ultimately led to the pick six that Clemson thought they had on Quinn Ewers, led to that pick six getting called back on that crackback block on Jake Majors. So, look, going back to the spread, it was dicey, but Texas does cover the 13.5. Didn't see what the over-under was, but obviously a high-scoring affair. Texas games have not been high in terms of the over-under. Most of them are in the high 40s, low 50s, so they score 62 total points today. Definitely a good day to bet Texas if you are a Texas Longhorns fan or backer. They cover just by the hair on their chinny chin chin, a half point, man. Half point. 13.5 was the spread. 14 is what Texas covers by. Good stuff. Appreciate all y'all, by the way. Thanks for everybody tuning in on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff. I appreciate all y'all. Let me keep going. Wisner injury. Joe, what's up, man? By the way, I know I'm going to have to backtrack on comments, but Joe, what's good? Wisner, by the way, I think they said he could have gone back in as well. This is all Sark in the postgame. So I think Sark in the postgame said Majors and Wisner both could have gone back in, but were held out for precautionary reasons. So I think that you got to take some solace in that. I'm sure they're going to be rehabbing like crazy leading up to the game against Arizona State. But Wisner, I think, will be good to go for next week. I think they really just held him out to avoid any kind of further damage to the injury. Didn't want to make it worse. What's up, everybody who's tuned in? Appreciate it. I'm going to scroll back, see if I can get back to square one with the comments here. Go Bucks. Yeah, some Ohio State Buckeyes in the chat. What's good? Hey, that was a great game if you're a Buckeye fan. If you're a fan of just college football in general, I don't think this was a great day for you unless you had a dog in the fight. But I think that by and large, pretty lopsided day of football. You had Penn State dominating SMU. That one was ugly. Texas, Clemson, I think we were all very clear who the better team was going into the half. And just throughout the game, Texas just looked head and shoulders above Clemson, but didn't completely close the door. Clemson did well to fight back, but I don't think anybody watched that game and thought to themselves, you know, if these two teams played each other 10 times, it would probably be 5-5. Maybe Clemson gets 1 or 2 wins, but Texas is a much better team than Clemson. It got a little interesting late, but look, by and large, this game, the Clemson Tigers, Texas Longhorns game, middle of the day, it was a little bit ugly and lopsided at times as well. And then tonight's game, Ohio State, Tennessee, not good if you're just a casual fan trying to watch some good college football. I did absolutely love the home environment, and I love that they decided to not do this on a neutral field. I love that you had the home crowd, the home energy. I thought it was electric in every stadium. So I think that's the silver lining because the scores were not super close. I mean, not every game can be a one-possession nail-biter, fast finish, photo finish, but I do think that the home environment, getting to play at the lower seeds or higher seed, whatever you want to call it, home stadium, I think that made a big difference. It definitely was much better field than the conference championships. I loved that you had the home environments rocking for all of these football games. So we go ahead and we head into the quarterfinal round. We're going to be talking ASU, previewing that matchup a little bit. But first, let me get back to questions and comments. Appreciate all y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Texas or Georgia better win it all now. I think those two teams got to be the favorites, although I think with what Ohio State did today, you're probably going to see them jump up quite a bit in the betting odds if I had to guess. I would imagine the statement that they made today, beating an SEC team in the fashion in which they did, is going to have a lot of people looking at the Buckeyes, along with the Longhorns and Bulldogs. And, of course, Oregon's got to be up there. I know that there are some people out there that maybe feel like Ohio State's still a better team than Oregon, despite the results earlier in the season. It's got to be those four as the odds-on favorites for sure. What do I think about OSU? Kind of said it. Really impressed by Ohio State and what they did today. Look, you start getting to some of the neutral fields. Like, I forget when they go neutral. Is it semifinal that they start playing on the neutral fields? I'm going to have to look it up. How long do they go in the home stadium? I really don't know. I'm not sure off the top of my head. If some of y'all know, drop it in the comments. Is it semifinals that they go to neutral, or is it championship they go to neutral? Either way, I think if you put some of these teams on a neutral field, who knows? I do think that the home stadium is a big advantage, but regardless, Ohio State looked really good. Kind of makes you wonder with the Ohio State-Michigan game, what was going on with Will Howard that game? I know he got knocked around pretty good early on. You kind of wonder if that really played a part in Michigan being able to win that game. Will Howard not being at full strength. He looked real good today. Will Howard looked on point. I definitely would not want to run into Ohio State right now. And you know what? Oregon, I think they got a really, really raw end of the deal with the seeding. So Texas, we're not complaining here. Texas gets to play Arizona State, and we're not underestimating Arizona State in any way. Arizona State, I believe, is a really good football team. You don't win your conference being terrible. So I think, though, it's really unfair that Arizona State has to play Texas and Oregon. has to go up against Ohio State. I just don't think that that's a fair shake with the seeding. If anything, Oregon should be playing Arizona State. Like, that should be the matchup that they get, the reward that they get for going undefeated and winning your conference. You shouldn't have to play Ohio State your very first matchup in the playoffs for going undefeated and also for winning your conference. I get it. It's still a home game. That is definitely something that is going to favor Oregon in that matchup. This just doesn't feel like it should be a quarterfinal game. Oregon and Ohio State feels like this is something that was meant for the championship or for the semifinals. Again, something I think they've got to get right for next year, the seeding. I think they've got to tweak the seeding for next year. Boise State, Arizona State should not be getting buys. I get it. You're trying to reward the conference champions. Look, think about what they do in the NCAA March Madness tourney. You win the conference, like you get in, right? If you win your conference, you're in. That's how it works in college basketball. I love that. I love that they brought that over to the CFP. You don't need to get a bye, right? The teams that win their conference don't get to automatically be a 2 seed and then play a 15 seed, right? You win your conference. If you're from a smaller conference or a lesser conference, you don't automatically need to get jolted up to a number 3 or number 4 position with a bye. So I do hope that they consider tweaking that a little bit. Oregon's reward for going undefeated and for winning the conference should not be playing Ohio State in their very first matchup. Let me keep going here. Hook 'em horns. Deer Hunter, appreciate you if you're still hanging out. Hook 'em. Let's go. Georgia and Texas for a third time. I could see it. I could really see it. Georgia and Texas going for a third time. Absolutely. I don't think a lot of people, I don't know. I'm really not sure. And it's hard with me just doing the lives, y'all, because obviously I get a bunch of Horns fans in here. I get a bunch of really cool casual fans or fans of other teams. And then I just get some straight up trolls. So it's hard for me to get a pulse. Like, does the nation really want to see the trilogy, Georgia and Texas again? Look, I clearly wouldn't mind it at all. If that happens, it means that Texas is in the championship game. I don't think there's any way. I looked at the bracket. There's no way that they can meet before the championship. I have a feeling there may be some people in the country that have a little bit of Texas, Georgia, SEC fatigue. Whatever. They'll get over it. I'm sure they'll still watch. Georgia, Texas would be a great natty. But I know there's some people out there that don't really want to see that again. And I don't blame you. Look, seeing the same matchup 3 times in one season, it is a little bit of overkill. I don't think it's unprecedented. I think it has happened before, if I'm not mistaken. I thought I heard them throwing that around. But I will say, I think that the nation probably as a whole would probably rather see a different one. But bring it on. Like I said, if Texas is in the national championship against Georgia, you're not going to get me complaining, oh, we've already played them twice. Let me keep going. Appreciate the follows, by the way. Thank you so much. Let's go ASU. We're going to preview the ASU matchup in a little bit here. By the way, I got to do it. We argued about this all season long. I got to do it. So some of y'all, or at least some of the trolls in the chat, love to give me a hard time about my hat. Tennessee, we're the real UT. All I got to say is, who's left standing right now? Who's the real UT? There's only one UT left, and that's the University of Texas. And like I've told y'all all season long, nobody hears UT and thinks University of Tennessee, except for the people that live there and maybe the fans of the teams that are rivals with Tennessee. Maybe. The by and large majority of our country, UT means Texas, and y'all should know better. Come on. All right, let me keep going. Am I worried about Scatterbo? No, I'm not. I think that you've got to remember this Longhorns defense is probably better than any defense that Arizona State has seen all season long. For me, I'm not worried about the rushing attack. I don't really worry a whole lot about Texas defense. I think today was a bit of an anomaly. I would attribute it to having a couple of weeks off. I think that the 2-week bye, it does make a difference. I mean, you go into these high pressure situations after 2 weeks off. I actually really think the fact that Texas played this week benefits Texas going into the ASU matchup. I don't think you want to play Texas flat-footed, cold. I think if I'm ASU, I would have much rather played this week and just been in a rhythm, been in momentum. I mean, look, maybe that sounds stupid to say out loud, but I do think it's a factor. I think it matters. And I think the fact that Texas gets this win today and they do it with outstanding rushing attack and look, a bend but don't break defensive performance. I think that this type of game was perfect for Texas because you have some things this week in practice that you need to clean up defensively, offensively to an extent as well. I think this is great. You won the game, but there's a lot of bulletin board material for the coaches. There's a lot for the coaches to coach up and practice this week. You know the defense is going to want to rebound. 24 points is not their usual. It is not typical of them. I think this was the most points they've given up since Georgia, the 30-point output that Georgia had. So I got to feel like Texas defense is going to be hungry, up for the challenge. I know that Scatabo thinks he's the best running back in the country. I don't think a lot of other people think that, but he does. That's good for him. I don't expect him to think anything else. Let's see how he does against probably a top 3 defense in the nation. I mean, I'd probably go, in my mind, I'd go Ohio State, I'd probably go Texas, and then I'd go Georgia. And maybe no order. Those to me are the 3 best defenses in the country. Ohio State, Texas, Georgia, in no particular order. But Ohio State, the defense, what they did tonight, I think y'all see what I mean. Georgia's had a really solid defense all year long, able to bottle up Texas rushing attack. That's not easy to do. I think Arizona State coming out, maybe like what you saw tonight with Clemson. I think that Clemson came out. They had a very quality, well-scripted first drive, put 7 on the board right away. I do think that is what a bye week can do for you. So it's not going to shock me if ASU comes out with a really solid, really quality, well-scripted drive. Maybe they get some points, a field goal, 7, whatever the case may be. Don't be surprised if ASU comes out and looks pretty decent because they've had 2 weeks to prep and they've been able to sit back, plan, prepare. I don't think that should shock anybody. Much like today, Clemson goes up 7-0, wasn't sweating it. You know that Dabo has been scripting that drive the past 2 weeks. When you have 2 weeks to prepare and you've got a great coach like Dabo Swinney, that's going to happen. So wouldn't be shocked if ASU looks decent in the first quarter. You get the home juice behind you. ASU will be playing in Tempe at home. That'll be helpful. But I do think that Texas is probably going to be at least a touchdown favorite in that game. Like, I really don't think they're going to be any less than a touchdown favorite. I'll look it up for y'all right now just so we can be clear, and then I'll get back to comments and everything like that. Let me go here. Odds versus Arizona State. Let's see what we can get on the fly. Here it is. 4 hours ago, CBS just put out this article. Looks like, what do we got? Come on. Don't make me scroll all the way to the bottom. Arizona State plus 13.5. So I was generous. Arizona State is nearly a 2-touchdown dog for Saturday's matchup. Or whatever. It's not Saturday. It's New Year's Day. My bad. New Year's Day matchup. Texas is in a different league than Arizona State. I think much like this game, you might see Arizona State come out fighting away right away, but Texas is going to wear down on the Sun Devils. I'm not real worried about the Arizona State game. A lot more worried about Oregon, Ohio State, because that's who Texas has next. If Ohio State does manage to get the win, I think, again, I don't know if we figured out, do we get neutral field starting in the semifinals? Let me see. Let me look that up now. So college football semifinal. Let's see what we got. Trying to figure out if it's a home game or if it's neutral field. Let's see. Technology, come on. And it's hard on the fly, too. Looks like we have got national championship is at a neutral. Games will return to the regular New Year's 6 bowl sites for the quarterfinals and semifinals. Oh, so the quarterfinal game isn't even at Arizona State? Is that right? Okay. Wow. Did not realize that. Is that right? So this game is at a neutral field. Arizona State doesn't even get home field? Wow. I'm reading the AI report that Google gives you, so maybe AI is wrong on this one, but is next week really at a neutral field? That is crazy to me. I just would not have thought that they would do that, especially to the teams that get the bye. But I'll check it out here. We'll see. I'll keep on going. I'll keep digging into it, but I appreciate all y'all. But Texas minus 13.5 against Arizona State. That is pretty crazy to me. But it shows you how good Texas is. They are that far ahead, that much head and shoulders above where Arizona State is at. Big reason why you look at Arizona State getting the bye, you look at Boise State getting the bye. I love that they get in for winning the conference championship. Just don't love that they get the bye. I think that really cheats out a bunch of different teams that really were higher quality and played tougher opponents throughout the season. I don't know. Not my favorite thing. Not my favorite thing. Let me keep going here. Appreciate it. Scroll back. See what we got. Neutral is next up. Yeah, I just can't believe that they go neutral. You would think that you would at least be able to get a home game if you get a bye, right? I mean, don't we all agree on that? If you get a bye, your first game should be at your home stadium. Like, that's something else I feel like they got to change. I totally get semifinals and championship at a neutral site. Personally, I would much rather they do what the NFL does, which is I would much rather them play at the better seeded team's home stadium until the championship. Like, I would much rather that be a thing. I think you've got to reward the teams that get a bye with a home game. Like, the fact that you don't even get to participate in a home game, that seems like an absolute shame to me. Boise State should get to host. Arizona State should get to host. The fact that this is on a neutral site for this next round, advantage totally goes out the window to all of the better seeded teams, especially the bye teams. So for me, they got to fix that. Fix the seeding thing. Like, you don't need to be giving the Mountain West champion a bye. You just don't. But if you are going to do that, at least let them have a playoff home game. I mean, I think that's something we can all get behind, even if you don't like the team that I'm wearing on my shirt right now. I think we can all get behind that. All right, let me keep going. Appreciate all the comments, by the way, man. I got a lot of catching up to do. I keep getting off. Y'all got some good stuff, and I keep getting off track, sidetrack, but I'm going to keep going a little more rapid fire here. Let me see if I can catch up. Appreciate you guys. Let's see here. Quinn Ewers doesn't have that NFL build. I don't know. I think Quinn is going to go first round. Maybe not this year. I think that he has 1 year of eligibility left, and they were talking about Quinn maybe transferring because I can't imagine that Arch Manning is going to sit around another year if Quinn stays. So I think personally Quinn should go to the NFL. Like, you've been to the college football playoff multiple times now, and I think that the stock isn't necessarily going to get any higher for Quinn, but I think that Quinn is going to be a worst second round guy. So I think Quinn is going to be just fine. He's got the intangibles. He's got the arm strength, a little bit limited with the mobility, especially with the ankle injury. But I think Quinn has a lot of the intangibles NFL teams are looking for. I know that he gets a lot of crap and a lot of hate from Texas fans, especially. I know that we're hard on Quinn, but he's going to be an NFL quarterback. I don't know how much success he's going to have, but he's going to be an NFL quarterback. Do I think Wingo can be a difference maker next season? He should be. Like I told y'all at the beginning of the live, I know some of you guys are coming in late. Like, we've got to have, at the University of Texas, it's kind of like with the running back situation. I remember telling my dad and talking to him and then some of my good buddies, it's like, we're the University of Texas. How do you not have the most elite running backs in the nation? And I know Wisner, very, very good. It's no disrespect to him. This was like several years ago, right? And it's like, how do you not have, I'm not talking about Bijan Robinson, but a little bit before that, how do you not have the most elite running backs in the nation? How do you not have an elite wide receiver, a Marvin Harrison Jr. type that is just going off every game? So I hope that Wingo can develop into a guy that can be one of those types. Texas, I think this year, it's no hate towards the wide receiving corps, but I will say this. I think that they have got to step up and get to a different level if Texas wants to win a natty. Like, the path is running the football, winning in the trenches for Texas this year, but you've got to get elite performances from the wide receivers, and I do hope that Wingo can develop into that, especially next year. I think that he's super fast. I think he's got the potential to be really great. I just hope that he can put it all together. I would really love to see Texas next year have that dominant go-to wide receiver where you're throwing him the ball 10, 11, 12 times, and he's consistently crossing that century mark. It feels like it's been a second. You had Worthy, but even Worthy, to me, last year, you got Worthy on some of the quick hits. I know he kind of had the dropsies a little bit at times. I still don't know if I would put Worthy in that Marvin Harrison Jr. class, and I know that that is a super elite class, but those are the type of dudes that I'm talking about. Like, we've got to get a dude like that that can dominate games. I just don't feel like right now Texas has a wide receiver that can just take over. You've got to think that if they did, Sark would be throwing the football more. I don't think it's any shade or hate towards the Texas wide receiving unit, but I will say, if we did have a dude like that, we would be throwing the ball more. And the fact that we ran it almost, 50 times today, I think tells you a lot. Yeah, we do have a great running attack, but if we had a dude that was constantly getting separation, Sark would be throwing the ball more. He would. Let's see here. Notre Dame is for real. Watch out. I don't know. I don't know what I think about Notre Dame. Like, I don't think they're a bad team. I don't think they're an average team. I think they are a good team. I don't know. Notre Dame does this to us every year, though. They look really good, and then they get into their first big matchup. I don't know if I would say Indiana is like a super big matchup. It was fun because he had the Indiana in-state rivalry thing going on, but I don't know if any of us really thought Indiana was a cut above. I didn't. So for me, I don't know what I think about Notre Dame. Who does Notre Dame have next? I got to pull up the bracket here. I just got to go ahead and pull this thing up. Let me see. College football playoff bracket. Notre Dame's got to show me something against somebody elite for me to really believe. For me, Indiana, no disrespect, I just don't put them in that elite class. I don't know about y'all. They had a nice season, but I'm not buying Notre Dame stock all the way quite yet. If they beat Georgia, I'll absolutely give them credit. They're playing Georgia next. I just pulled up the bracket here. So we got Penn State, Boise State. Penn State favored by 10.5. Oregon is an underdog. And again, this is on a neutral site. You got to think Oregon would probably be favored if this was in Oregon, but neutral site, -1.5. Texas, Arizona State, Texas almost by 2 touchdowns. Wowza. So looks like we got 2 good games and 2 games that could potentially get out of hand. Penn State, Boise State, Texas, ASU, the 2 games that might get out of hand. Ohio State, Oregon, Notre Dame, Georgia, building up to be some pretty good matchups. Let me keep on going. Yeah, Joey, if you're still hanging out, I got to agree. Joey's comment was Quinn doesn't have enough weapons at wide receivers. I do think for as much crap as Quinn gets, and it's a lot of crap, a lot of people want to criticize Quinn Ewers. I've criticized Quinn Ewers on this show at times. I think I've said he can look a little bit aloof and lost on some plays out there. He always has a couple of plays every game where it's just like, what are you doing? What were you seeing? And I forget which one it was tonight. I felt like he had one tonight. It was the slide. Did y'all see where he rolls out, nothing is open, and then Quinn Ewers just, instead of throwing the ball away, slides and takes the 3-yard sack? It's like, that's what I'm talking about. You're like, one or two plays every game, he has like a great game, and then just suddenly forgets how to play football for one or two plays. I feel like every game we've seen something like that from Quinn Ewers. And look, fortunately, the Texas team is so good. They can usually overcome one person's mistake in a game. But I do think that we've got to start putting some of the onus on the wide receivers. If they were getting better separation, I really don't have any doubt that Steve Sarkisian would be calling more passing plays. If these wide receivers were beating the man across from them and just getting 2-3 yard separation every play, Sark would be throwing the ball all around the yard. Like running the ball, obviously, every coach wants to establish the run. Let's be totally 100, though. Like, drawing up the passing plays is way more fun than drawing up the running plays. I can only speak from my own experience at the very low stakes level of middle school football that I coach. But I think most coaches would probably rather draw up passing plays than running plays. Nothing against running the football. I think you have to have a good run game in order to win football games. And I love that Sark went ahead and just let the ground game dominate tonight. But he'd be throwing the football if we had elite wide receivers that were consistently getting good separation. Let me keep going. Appreciate the follows, by the way. Thank you so much. A bunch of people have followed. Thank you. Pick six to a field goal was huge. I totally agree, Joey. The pick six, of course, referencing when, DeAndre Moore drops a ball right in the chest. Like, I don't know. Quinn Ewers couldn't have put that ball any better. DeAndre Moore literally just drops it, goes right off his chest into the arms of a Clemson defender. A crackback block that I do think was a legit call negates the pick six. I mean, look, crackback block by definition, if the guy does not have his head turned around looking at the blocker, and it was very clear, head was not turned around, head was not locked in on the Clemson player at all. Jake Majors, we're talking about the Texas center. I don't think that there's any doubt that was the right call. I've seen worse crackback blocks than that one, but I do think that was the right call. That was huge. Holding them to a field goal, absolutely huge there. SMU should not have been there. Jason, if you're still hanging out, appreciate you. Yeah, SMU looked out of their league. And I think Penn State, a very quality team. I do know that some of their close games this year has got some people thinking, how good is Penn State really? But Penn State dominated. The quarterback for SMU, I don't know other teams and other individual players super well, y'all. I'm not even going to lie, but the SMU quarterback just looked a little bit lost out there at times. Like the interception, I think, right before halftime he had, which wasn't even close. Like, I don't even think he saw the linebacker dropping in coverage. I mean, some of the plays were just ugly from SMU today. Very, very cool that they made it. And being from the Dallas-Fort Worth area, the Metroplex, definitely happy SMU made it. Like, definitely happy that they were in the big dance. I think that's a huge accomplishment for a school like SMU. So, look, got to give them props, got to give them respect, but let's be real. They were out of their element. Probably, I don't know. I don't want to get into the Bama-SMU debate, but you got to think Bama probably gives Penn State a better game than what SMU did. I mean, we can debate who deserved it more, and maybe you say SMU deserved it more than Bama, but I don't know if any college football fan with a brain is thinking that Bama would have gotten rolled like SMU did. Just my 2 cents. 1-600 today, Patrick. Well done, sir. Clemson doesn't have the defense. No, they didn't. Texas just ran all over them. Look, if you allow Texas to control the time of possession in the ground game like that, you're just not going to beat them often. Ohio against the world. They look good tonight. Who's taking the W next week, Ohio State or Oregon? I'm going to go with Ohio State getting the revenge. I'm just going emotional, instant reaction tonight, y'all. I'm going with Ohio State getting the revenge. I'm with that. So we'll see. It's what, 1.5-point spread. Ohio State is slightly favored on a neutral field over Oregon. I'm going Ohio State to get the revenge. It was super close last time. Look, Will Howard slides a second sooner in that Oregon game. Ohio State is maybe getting the win in that one. So I think Ohio State probably comes out and gets the revenge game. So right now, if you had to make me pick without thinking about it too much, maybe prisoner of the moment, but I'm saying Ohio State over Oregon next week. Let me keep going with another question. Let me check YouTube here. What's the deal with Bond not being that guy? So Bond has been hurt, and I feel like even when Bond was healthy, there were shades of him being that big-time elite wide receiver, but I just don't even feel like Bond has been that dude either. And once he got injured, he really hasn't been that dude. We're talking Isaiah Bond, Alabama transfer. You also got to think, and I kind of wonder, it's his first year in Sark's system. You just kind of think to yourself, first year in the system, got injured, just kind of a perfect storm. So it's not shocking to me Isaiah Bond isn't the dude right now. And I don't know what his eligibility is. Y'all, there's just too much to stay locked in on. The transfer portal just opened back up. I know Texas had some guys leave. They got to fix that transfer portal too thing. Am I right? Like, why do they have a transfer portal going on in the middle of the college football playoff? Like, it just ridiculous to me. Like the Penn State backup quarterback had to enter the transfer portal, because if you don't, you can't get back until April, and then teams have things figured out by then. They got to figure out the transfer portal stuff. But I do think a big reason Isaiah Bond hasn't blossomed this year into Marvin Harrison Jr. elite status is it's the first year in what I don't think is a super simple system to learn. I think Sark's system has a lot of nuances. It involves a lot of motion. I don't think it's easy to come into Sark's system and just immediately be incredible. I think you really have to learn it well. That's just my observation. I'm sure it's different for different guys. There's maybe another wide receiver that comes into Sark's system year one and just totally gets it, and it's a piece of cake. But I think for some guys, it's a challenge. We keep going. Keep going here. We'll keep checking comments. Appreciate all y'all. Day's a great coach. Isn't it crazy they wanted to fire Ryan Day? Like, some Ohio State fans actually wanted to fire Ryan Day. Really don't get that. Look, I do think you got to stop putting so much crazy emphasis on the Michigan game. I felt like this year with Texas, for example, the Lone Star Showdown was huge. It was fun. But if Sark would have lost that game, I don't know if there's the outrage. Sark needs to be fired. I don't think that would have been coming from the Texas faithful. I'm not saying everybody, but I think by and large, I don't think all of us would have suddenly turned on Steve Sarkisian and said, fire the guy. And I know Ryan Day hasn't been able to beat Michigan the last 3 seasons, but Ryan Day's a great coach. That dude would get picked up immediately, and I really don't think that you hold the Michigan losses against him. You look at the college football playoff and what he's been able to do in the postseason. To me, I love rivalry games. And maybe being out in Vegas, obviously, y'all know I like to have a little fun with the sports bets here and there. For me, these rivalry games, they're cool, they're fun, but they're not everything to me. Like, they're not everything to me. And maybe I'm just a different breed of college football fan. I love the rivalries. I really do. Like the A&M rivalry, so glad they brought it back. I just don't think coaches need to be getting fired over regular season games. Like, you're going to drop some regular season games. Are you making it to the college football playoff consistently? I think that's got to be the number one priority. Like, as much as Michigan can gloat about the win over Ohio State this year, their butts are sitting at home right now watching this stuff, right? I mean, A&M, if they were to beat us in that Lone Star Showdown game, we probably still would have been in the playoff, right? And like, that game was totally inconsequential for for Ohio State. Like, if Ohio State lost that game, they were going to make it, and we all knew that going in. If Texas would have lost to A&M, they would have still made the college football playoff anyways. A&M would have played in the SEC championship, but Texas, sitting with 2 losses, would have still made it. So I'm not going to fire a coach over an inconsequential regular season game. Now, maybe if the stakes are higher, hey, you lose and you're out of the college football playoff, okay? But Ohio State was going to be in the college football playoff, win or loss against Michigan, just like Texas was going to be in the CFP, win or loss against A&M. I'm not firing coaches over regular season games. Let me keep going here. Tennessee didn't belong. Clearly Tennessee didn't belong now that we just watched them get obliterated by Ohio State. But I don't think you can say they didn't deserve to be there. I mean, you only lose 2 games in the SEC. It's impressive. So I don't think you can't say that they didn't deserve it. But yeah, they definitely don't look like they belong after getting the doors beat off of them, by 30 plus points. Appreciate everybody clarifying the neutral. I was thinking quarterfinals, surely we're going to have home games for the quarterfinals. Like, all the teams that are getting a bye are going to be able to host a home game. It just makes no sense to me that Boise State, Oregon, Arizona State, and Georgia don't get to host home games. That does not make a lot of sense to me, but whatever. I think it's something they got to tweak for next time. Penn State got the best draw. So let me look at the bracket. I don't know. Penn State, I don't know if you could say they got the best draw or not. Maybe you can. Yeah. Okay. SMU and Boise, they did. And look, I know Joel Klatt, who some of y'all might follow, made this observation already. Joel Klatt, Fox, CF college football guy. He basically said, like, what better way, like, to reward a team for losing in the conference championship? Like, of course, a lot of sarcasm in that, but Penn State loses to Oregon in the Big Ten championship, and their reward is you get to play SMU and Boise State back to back. And like, I just got out of a group chat, and it's like, how does Oregon get a worse draw than even Texas, right? Texas has a better draw than Oregon. Oregon should be getting to play Arizona State this week. Texas should have to play Ohio State. Like, that's how it should be. Texas should not be getting to play Arizona State. Like, clearly, I'm going to take it. I'm 100% taking it. But Texas should have to play Ohio State this week. Oregon should get to play Arizona State. I do think you got to go with the reseeding. And I know Ohio State is an 8 seed, so we're not talking about reseeding like each round, but we're talking about making it so Arizona State and Boise State are not 3 and 4 seed. That just shouldn't be happening. So I think it's something they got to fix for next year. Let me keep going. Keep going here, trying to make it through as much as I can. Appreciate all y'all hanging out. Hook 'em horns to all my Longhorns faithful in the chat. Appreciate all y'all. Hopefully Georgia doesn't have another allergic reaction to gold helmets. That's a good one. That's a good one. I think Georgia's going to win that game. I feel like Notre Dame always gets your hopes up like they're going to be this elite juggernaut national champion, and then they just get totally mortified on a big stage. So I don't know. I think Georgia's going to win that football game. I know that the spread is tight right now, but I would absolutely take Georgia in that game. I would be taking Georgia and Ohio State. And I think you got to go Penn State over Boise State. And I don't know who's picking Arizona State to upset Texas. I'd like the Texas-Georgia matchup, but with Manning starting. Look, Vincent, I don't think Manning is going to get the start at any point, barring a Quinn Ewers injury. I do like that they continue to use Arch Manning in different package sets, short yardage on 3rd and 4th down. I just don't think you're going to get Arch Manning starting at any point, barring a Quinn Ewers injury. If you want to beat UGA, just run the ball. We tried to do that. We tried to run the ball against UGA. Didn't work out so hot. Just didn't work out so hot. Let me keep going here. That orange is number 1 in men's basketball. You're talking about. Where is Texas? We ain't talking about college hoops right now. I love it though when when fans try to grab onto that. Yeah, but we're good in basketball. Yeah, Tennessee got beat by 30 plus tonight, but yeah, we're good in basketball. Come on, don't use the basketball excuse. Come on, bro. Come on. We don't need to be using basketball excuses. This is football season, and Tennessee just got the doors beat off them. Like, we don't need to start pumping up the basketball team. Let's take the L, stew on it for a little bit, remember who the real UT is, but let's not use basketball excuses right now. Come on. Come on. Terrible game by Tennessee. Agreed. I was scared when we were up by 7. Wasn't scared at all. Was not scared at all when we were only up by 7. Clemson could not stop the Texas running game, so did not feel at any point like it was going to be a game that Clemson won. Even if Clemson gets the ball back and Blue doesn't take it 77 yards to the house, a lot of clock's going to get drained regardless. Never really felt like that game was in doubt. I think if you've watched Texas all year, you know that they're a bend but don't break kind of team. Like, yeah, they make things unnecessarily interesting, but they win football games, especially games where they're leading. Like the Georgia games aside, those were real back and forth games. Georgia games aside, Texas has had some games that kind of get close late, but for me, was never really in doubt. Let me keep going. Georgia has our number. Yeah, we'll see. See what happens in the Natty. But Georgia's a good team, no doubt. No Georgia disrespect. Like, Georgia's a great team. Love Kirby Smart. Definitely have a lot of respect for the Georgia program. Do I think that Georgia's unbeatable? Absolutely not. Do I think Texas could beat Georgia? Yes. And I think Texas shot themselves in the foot time after time against Georgia in the SEC championship. I think they very easily could have won that game. They didn't. Credit to Georgia. We'll see how it goes. See if we get that trilogy in the national championship. Let me keep going. UGA defense is good. They gave up 45 to Bama, 42 to Georgia Tech. 42 to Georgia Tech, but why are you going to use that as an example? That was like an overtime game where scores are just going to get racked up. I wouldn't use the Georgia Tech 42 as any kind of example. I mean, that was like a 20 to 20 game or something like that going into overtime. Like, I'm not going to hold the 42 on Georgia Tech against the Georgia defense. That feels like just box score grabbing right there. You got to watch the football game. It was like 20 points that they gave up in regulation. Like, come on now. That's definitely not something that you can use to knock down the Georgia defense. Giving up 45 to Bama, I think every team's got to be allowed one bad game. Like, Texas allows 30 to Georgia, but let's be real. Texas turned the ball over 3 or 4 times within their own territory and gave Georgia a short field. You can't put that all on the defense. I really do feel like Georgia's got a pretty elite unit. Trying to read the comments, but as y'all know, it's tough. We got a lot going on, but I'm trying to sift through. Appreciate all the follows. You have the same 2 weeks they had. Nevertheless, you always have, I feel like you should have a great scripted drive coming out of a 2-week bye. I definitely think Texas showed that they were ready to go, right? It was 2 weeks of prep time. What did Texas do on their first drive? They came out and scored. So, again, not shocked that Clemson made it 7-0. You've got 2 weeks to prepare. So, definitely was not thrown off at all by that. And a big reason why, if you watch the live spreads like I do, it didn't move much. Even with Clemson scoring, it was still like Texas by double digits, even when they were up 7-0. Texas always getting a cakewalk. Yeah. But once they get to Ohio State, Oregon, are we really going to keep saying that? Like, they'll probably beat Arizona State this week. But once they get to Oregon, Ohio State, nobody's going to be saying cakewalk. So let's get real about that. Keep going. All right. I got live here, so I'm going to try and get caught up. Straight to Rocky Bottom. That's good, man. I appreciate some of y'all are great. I appreciate y'all. Ducks, Bulldogs, national championship. I could see that. I don't want to see it, but I could see it. Appreciate the follows. Thank you. I'm going to follow just because I want to see what happens if ASU upsets. Hey, I'll take that follow. I will take that follow. And we'll be here. As y'all know, rain or shine, we're here. We're here. We're not hiding. We'll be here. Rain or shine next week, win or loss, New Year's Day, we're going to be here. So I don't want anybody to worry that I'm going to be falling off the face of the earth if ASU wins next week. We'll be here. I'm not going to be happy about it, but I'll be here. Let me keep going. Should be home games through quarterfinals. Totally agree, Dawson. Appreciate it. Like, you got to give the bye teams, you got to give Boise a home game. I have no idea why they thought that we've got to go quarterfinals, neutral site. You know what? I don't know why I didn't think this early. It's probably money. It always goes back to that. I'm sure it's money with the bowl games and the sponsors and all that. I don't know. I'm sure it has to do with money. Let me keep going. You guys are the official UT. Congrats on the win. Thank you. Agreed. Rocky flop. Yup. Hey, look 'em horns, baby. Appreciate all the Texas fans hanging out. Did I go to Texas? No. Raised the Texas Longhorns fan. Got accepted. Decided to go somewhere else, play some college baseball. It was fun, but no, a lot of Longhorns fans in the family. A couple of family members went to UT as well. Didn't go myself, but still love the Longhorns. Always will. Let me keep going. Most terrible take I've heard from any T-shirt fan. Thank you. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Most terrible take I've ever heard from a T-shirt fan. You hear new ones every day. OSU, Oregon taking it. Yeah, one OSU or Oregon, I could definitely see one of those two teams winning the Natty. I think there's a number of teams right now that you feel good about. Texas should have won by 40 today. I agree. It should have been lopsided. They always seem to make it a little bit closer than what it needs to be. I sent out a tweet today. I believe it was Texas Sports is the handle. I'm not sure if I'm getting that handle right. I want to make sure I give credit. I don't want to steal people's stuff, but basically they just said, like, right before Texas gets the kill shot, something bad always happens. And I feel like that couldn't be more true. Like, they get stopped on a fourth down right as they're about to make the kill shot to win the game. It has been a recurring theme this year for Texas. Like, you just can't put a team away early or in the third quarter to the point where it's a blowout late. I agree. Texas should have blown out Clemson. It should have been a blowout. Oregon is not an underdog. I do think if this game next week was in Oregon, Oregon would be favored. I still think Ohio State probably going to win that game, though. I'm going Ohio State right now. Just here to watch SEC teams get knocked out, so go Notre Dame and ASU. You might get Notre Dame. I don't think you're getting that ASU upset, though. Sorry about it. Texas, let's hang around. We got to dominate the whole game. Yeah, I wish we could get that complete performance where there's no silly, funny business at the end. It hasn't come yet. Maybe next week against Arizona State. I just keep on thinking. Maybe the next game. I went to this game. It was really loud. Jealous 100%. Jealous 100%. T-shirt boy. If that's the worst, I've heard a lot worse than that. I mean, if that's the worst, I'm having a pretty good day. T-shirt boy. Great comeback. Y'all really getting deep into your bag for some of these. As you know, we got to sift through some of the trolling a little bit, but I got to read some of the hilarious ones out loud. Jake, appreciate the gift, by the way. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Thank you, Jake, if you're still hanging out. Appreciate the gifts. Money will buy you a championship. Isn't that every college football team right now? Like, every college football team right now is trying to spend money to win the championship. Like, I get Texas just has more than a lot of other programs. Not going to apologize for it. But everybody's trying to buy a championship right now. Are we serious? Baseball Network, what's up? If you still tuned in, appreciate you. My dad's an A&M fan. I chose the right Texas team. Indeed, you did. Well done. Tough to be an A&M fan. Just tough. What is it, 1930 since the last Natty? It's tough to be an A&M fan. Really tough. Let me keep going. It's all up to Texas and Georgia to keep the natty in the SEC. Let's get it done. Who do I think regrets joining the SEC? Texas? No way. No way do they regret it. I mean, look, they would have dominated the Big 12. With this team, they would have dominated the Big 12. It wouldn't have even been close. Texas probably would have been undefeated this year in the Big 12. I don't think anybody was beating Texas this year from the Big 12 and what it's made up of right now. I don't think there's any regrets at all, though. Texas offense too slow to contend against this version of Ohio State. Yeah, maybe. It's a game-by-game thing, though, y'all, isn't it? It's any given Saturday, any given Monday, whenever the heck the national championship is. Usually it's a Monday night. Who knows? Who knows? I mean, I don't know what to think. But, yeah, being a prisoner of the moment, Ohio State looks really good. Really, really good. Me going. Hook 'em horns, go Astros. Agreed on the first one. Disagreed on the second one. Go Rangers, baby. Me keep going. I seen a stat that Texas only let up 4 passing touchdowns all year. Clemson quarterback had 3. Yeah, I saw that. They were mentioning that like literally all game long. Texas, I think the secondary, and this is what I said, I think this was a really great win for Texas. You won the game, obviously, but you have a lot of material. Coaches have a lot of material for practice this next coming week. I mean, there are some things that Texas defensively needs to clean up. You've got some great material for practice this week. I think it'll be a great week of practice. They are going to want to make sure that they come out sharp against Arizona State. But neutral field against ASU, I'm not really that worried about that ball game. I think Texas probably cruises to a win. Let me keep going. Philip, I already answered the question. And I've already gone. I feel like I answer this every day, every time I come live and do college football. Isn't it, to me, it's amusing. The people that feel like you can only be a fan of a team if you went to the university. I just don't think that, to me, that's a legitimate argument at all. I'm not even going to waste a lot of time on it. If you were raised a fan of a college football team and you've been with that team your whole life, what do I care? Do we all have to play for NFL teams to be fans of the Dallas Cowboys? Do we have to play for the Texans to be a fan of them? Is that how this works? Like, I think that is the stupidest perspective to have, that you can only be a fan of a college football team if you went there. But you do you. But I have no desire to go back and forth about that. Stupidest perspective I feel exists when it comes to college football and good fans or not. So, Philip, hope that answered your question, bro. All right, let me keep going. Gunner is a dual threat quarterback and can run, not to mention Notre Dame got no film on him. I don't know. I really don't know what to think of Gunner. We're talking about the Georgia backup quarterback since Carson Beck's not going to be playing. Like, I don't know. I feel like Texas, they were a little shell-shocked of him coming into the game. I feel like he did a lot of dinking and dunking, and he wasn't running all over the Longhorns. It's going to be a 50-50 for me, like how he plays. I think that the running backs that Georgia has are going to carry that game. We'll see if Notre Dame is up to the task, but I got to think they're going to lean heavy on ETN and some of the other studs they got in the backfield. Let me keep going. Appreciate Rangers for life. This is why I love you, Austin. Caleb, appreciate you. Appreciate you. Hey, Rangers, what? We're February 18th. We're like a little less than 2 months away from players reporting to spring training. Hey, we're coming into a real good time in sports. Real good time. Keep going. What year did you graduate from Texas? Didn't go. I don't even care. I have no idea what the infatuation is. Again, if you grew up cheering for a team and that's been your team your whole life, whatever. Cheer for whoever you want. I don't even get the people that think you can't be a team fan if you didn't go to that university. But you do you. Stupid. All right. What do we got? Anything else? Appreciate all y'all. Braves better beat the Rangers. Yeah, exactly. Caleb, it's a good point. Again, yeah, all you little kids out there, this is what some of these people think. All you little kids, if you're not actively going to the University of Texas, or if you didn't graduate from there, you need to stop being a fan right now. That's seriously what some people think. I don't get it at all. You better stop being a fan if you don't go to the university or you didn't graduate from there. And if you did cheer for them for your entire childhood, when you turn 18 and become college age, you have to shut that off and stop cheering for your team because stupid rule. Whatever. I got to stop talking about it. It's just dumb to waste time on, but I appreciate all y'all. I'm not going to hate on any of the questions. Thank you. Thanks for keeping the chat going. Who looked best out of the 4 teams? I think you got to go with Ohio State. And look, y'all know I can't always be unbiased, but I hope that resonates. I got to go with Ohio State. Like, they look the best to me. Penn State, you played SMU. I'm not going to pump up an SMU victory. I do think, though, Ohio State beating an SEC opponent, I do think that you got to give the best team of the weekend to Ohio State. I would say probably after that, let me look. After that, I would probably go with either Notre Dame or Texas, even though Penn State blows out SMU. I don't know. I just can't give a lot of credit for beating SMU. It's no hate against SMU. In fact, I like seeing SMU do well, being from the Metroplex myself, but I think it's got to go Ohio State, maybe then I think Texas, Notre Dame, and then Penn State. Ohio State definitely had the toughest opponent. Appreciate the follow, by the way. Thank you so much. I see a couple people just followed. It's only Aggies fans who think that way. It's only Aggies fans who think you can only be a fan if you attended the university. Got it. That makes more sense. Appreciate that clarification. That makes a lot more sense. Ohio State, Penn State, Notre Dame, Texas. You think Texas looked the worst? I don't know if I would say Texas looked the worst today. Look, Notre Dame playing Indiana, 27-17 ball game. I know Indiana kind of scores a little garbage time touchdown late to make it closer than it was. I don't know. I don't think that you can say Texas had the worst performance, but it doesn't matter. Everybody's through. Like, we could go round and round about that question all day long. I do think we can all agree Ohio State looks the best coming out of this weekend. That doesn't mean they're the best team left. That's not what we're saying, but I definitely think that they look the best coming out of this weekend of the 4 winning teams. We'll see, though, what shakes out next weekend. It's going to be great. Ohio State, Oregon. I don't know why that game is a 2 p.m. start. No idea. I know it's New Year's Day. I feel like you got to have that game on in prime time. Notre Dame, Georgia is the primetime game. I don't know. Is Notre Dame, Georgia really a bigger game than Ohio State, Oregon? Personally, I'm looking more forward to Ohio State, Oregon. I'm looking forward to that game more. But hey, whatever. I guess the numbers talk, the ratings talk. Maybe Notre Dame and Georgia have been drawing bigger numbers, but I would think Oregon, Ohio State should be that primetime game on New Year's Day. By the way, it'll be 3 games on New Year's Day. Texas in the morning, Ohio State, Oregon in the mid-afternoon, and then Notre Dame, Georgia in the evening, and then Boise State, Penn State play on New Year's Eve at 4:30. I do think OSU, Oregon's a bigger game. I don't know why that game isn't the 5:45 game on New Year's Day, but whatever. What do I know? What bowl game am I interested in the most outside of the CFP? You're stretching me on this one a little bit. I have been so locked in to Texas Longhorn stuff, but you know what? I'm going to pause for a second and let's just check out what bowl games are left. This is going to be fun because I really, admittedly, have not paid a lot of attention to this. So I'm going to look right now. I'm just scrolling through. By the way, I'm on December 27th, and I still haven't found one that I like. Oklahoma Navy probably is the one that drew my attention first out of all the games, and that's on December 27th. Let's see. Texas Tech, Arkansas, I'd be interested in. USC A&M, I'll probably watch just to see the Aggies lose. Hopefully. Knock on wood. Hope y'all heard that. Let's see. Iowa State, Miami could be pretty good. Iowa State, Miami. What else? BYU, Colorado. I'll watch that game for sure. Watch BYU, Colorado. Louisiana Tech, Army. I'm a big supporter of the armed forces, so my brother's in the Army, so I'll cheer for Army in that game. I've been following them all season long. Bama, Michigan. I'll watch that one. I don't know. After going through all these, the best game, it's tough. The best game, I don't know about all the opt-outs either. Like, who's opting out? That's so hard. It's probably BYU, Colorado, or maybe Bama, Michigan. I don't know. Like, those are probably the two biggest. And maybe in third place, it's the Iowa State, Miami game. I don't know. We'll see. Texas Tech, Arkansas, just because I'm from the South and I love Texas, I'll be enjoying that game. I'm not a big Texas Tech fan. Ever since that Crabtree Graham Harrell game, Texas should have won that game easily. We had Blake Gideon dropping an easy interception. I'm sure that'll haunt him forever. But look, don't want to get back into bad memories. I'm not a big Texas Tech fan. I'm just not. But I do like Arkansas, crazy enough. One of my best friends is from Arkansas. And look, Arkansas and Texas never really played each other a lot while I was a kid growing up. So I know that some of the old school Texas fans have this big rivalry with Arkansas. And look, it was fun when we played Arkansas this year. But I don't know. I just like that South matchup, Texas Tech, Arkansas. That'll be fun. It's probably got to be, though, like Bama and Michigan, the big names in college football. That's probably got to be the game most people are looking forward to as casual fans. Oh, Iowa State, Miami. That might be a decent one. Miami barely getting left out of the college football playoff. BYU, Colorado, Travis Hunter, Shador. That should be fun. BYU, they're not slouches. Like, they had a pretty good year, 10-2. We'll see. We already went over this, though. This clearly, and we got to show every show, we got to show the state's flag of Texas on this hat. And we all know there's only one UT. We've been through this. There's only one UT. That was proven tonight. Tennessee getting the freaking doors beat off them. And Texas advancing to the next round. There's only one UT left in college football, and it's the real UT. So let's just be real about it. We can stop the debate. You can have college basketball. We will get into that mode after we win a football national championship. Thank you very much. Y'all can have the number one ranking in college basketball right now. Nobody cares about that. While we are winning a national championship in football, y'all can be happy about being number one ranked in December in college basketball. What's my score prediction? By the way, thank you for the gifts. I appreciate all y'all. Thank you for the gifts. What's my score prediction for this game? Chase, appreciate the gifts, man. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that, bro. Does ASU even have a chance? I would say no. My score prediction, I'm going to go Texas 34, ASU 17. I'm going to go 34-17. Texas covers the spread. I think the defense is going to come out with a vengeance. I think that they feel probably a little embarrassed giving up 24 to Clemson, giving up 3 touchdown passes. I think the defense is going to come out with a vengeance. I'm going 34-17 Texas over ASU. I don't think that they have a chance. I don't think anybody's really worried about the running back. Texas has faced some pretty decent running backs this year. ETN clearly had a really, really good game against us both times for Georgia. But Georgia's O-line is very good. I don't think ASU has Georgia's O-line. So Scatterbo, definitely a great running back. He thinks he's the best running back in college football. I don't think we're going to be saying that after the game this Saturday, but we'll let him think that. But I think that Scatterbo is definitely going to be somebody that they're going to try to employ, but you know that the Texas defense is going to be ready. You know they're going to be ready. Let me keep going. Yeah, Caleb, I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm so grateful and thankful to all of y'all that have followed, all of y'all that are watching right now. This started off super small. I started this about 2 years ago. Almost 2 years ago, I started Right on Rangers, this channel. Look, we're still not huge or anything like that. And look, you guys who are watching right now, you guys are the reason why this is what it is. All the comments, all the likes, the gifts, all the good vibes, all the good questions and comments. You guys got to know I appreciate all y'all, even the trolls and people hating. Look, you guys pay the bills too, so thank you so much. But I'm always grateful for you guys. Keep it up. Texas D-line on the goal line is scary. That was an insane goal line stand. I love it. That was an absolutely insane goal line stand to really put the game to bed. So definitely think that the Texas defense, they're bend don't break tonight. That's what they were. But I think they come out against Arizona State really ready to prove themselves and have a much better game. Hook 'em. Chris, what's up, man? Hook 'em. Run game looked great. You're not going to beat Texas when they run the ball like this. You're just not. You're just not going to beat them when they run the ball in this way. You got almost 300 yards on the ground. Like, you're just not going to beat the Horns like this. Good game from Clemson. Kevin, if you're still hanging out, what's good? Appreciate you. Yeah, look, I think if you're a Clemson fan, like, obviously you're disappointed they lost, but they made it interesting. We'll give them that. I mean, we'll give them that. D. Ruiz, what's up, man? Thanks. Let's go Horns. Hook 'em. Appreciate you tuning in. Texas versus Georgia in the Natty. That's his prediction. We'll see. I think that's probably a pretty popular prediction. Gotta say. Let me keep going. Do I got Ohio State or Oregon? Ohio State. I'm going Ohio State. I think it's tough to beat a team twice. I know Georgia did it to Texas. Ohio State could have won against Oregon. If Will Howard slides a second sooner, they probably end up winning that game on a field goal. I think Ohio State is going to beat Oregon next week. That's my prisoner of the moment, emotional, have not studied any of the analytics or anything else reaction. That's just what it feels like to me. We keep going. Georgia beats Texas. No way. Georgia beats Texas 3 times. Look, I'm not going to say no way, but it does feel like it's going to be a tough feat to accomplish. Georgia could do it, but I feel like Texas could have won last matchup. They shot themselves in the foot, double-digit penalties, turning the ball over. Texas could have won that game. I don't fear Georgia. Like, if we get matched up against them, I'm going to relish that opportunity. And I know that the Texas football team is going to do that too. I don't think anybody fears Georgia. I think everybody respects Georgia and thinks that it's going to be a good game. But I don't think anybody is fearing Georgia. Oh, my goodness, we just can't beat them. There's no way. Nobody's thinking that, especially if you've watched Texas this whole time. So could Georgia beat us? Absolutely, Georgia could beat us round 3 and go 3-0 against us this season. It could happen. And I'm not going to be like shocked in disbelief if it does. I'll be freaking sad and disappointed as I'll get out, but I'm not going to be shocked if it happens. I do think the other thing is true, though, too. Not going to be surprised in the least bit if Texas beats Georgia in the trilogy. I think Texas could easily beat Georgia, but we'll see what happens. It's a long road to get there still. Got to go through ASU, got to go through the winner of Ohio State, Oregon. It's not going to be a walk in the park. Georgia is a really, really good team, so no disrespect. But I think even Georgia fans would tell you Texas can hang. Like, Texas can hang. That was not a blowout game, and that was on a neutral field too. There was arguably a Georgia home field advantage in the SEC championship. Like, Texas can hang. If Georgia wins, it's not going to be the shock of the century, but Texas can hang with Georgia. We keep going. Appreciate all y'all. I'm going to be wrapping up the show here pretty soon. ASU is at 12 p.m. Texas time on New Year's Day. So we've got, about 11 days. So let's see. That's going to be, when is New Year's Day? What freaking day of the week is that, man? I get, around this time of year, I get all my days confused. I'm not even going to lie to y'all. It's like, what day is it? Like, the time in between Christmas and New Year's is just like this massive void. So we'll see. Let me get my day straight here. So New Year's Day is on a Wednesday. All right, got it. So we're like a week and a half, a week from this Wednesday. Got it. Very cool. Appreciate all y'all hanging. We'll be back. Obviously, we'll go live after the game. I may do what I did just like today and wait to go live. I know a lot of the times during the season, I would go live almost immediately after the game. And I do like doing that. But I know that a lot of people are watching the other games. And to be honest, selfishly, I enjoy watching the other games too. So I'm going to want to watch Ohio State, Oregon, just like y'all are probably going to, because I know all y'all love college football. I'm going to want to watch Georgia, Notre Dame, and then we get to talk about everything. So I think I'll probably wait till the evening again on Wednesday. I'll be tweeting and I'll be posting stuff during the game and after the game. But I think I'm going to wait to do the show till the evening just so every game is done and we can talk about everything. And we got the full scope, whether Texas wins or loses. We got the semifinal matchups, all that good stuff. So I'll probably wait, do a Wednesday night live after the Georgia Notre Dame game, which is the last game of New Year's Day. So we'll look to do a similar timing. Seemed to work out pretty well. I know most people are probably going to be getting ready for work the next day on the 2nd, but we'll try and go live right after that game so everybody can sit back, chill out a little bit, and we can talk everything in what should be a great day of college football. I wanted to say I appreciate all of y'all hanging. It really, really makes the show great when you guys have good comments, good questions, and you didn't disappoint tonight. I don't have a whole lot else to go through in my notes. I think Texas obviously made it a little bit closer than what they needed to, but everybody did just enough to get the win today. A running game, got to give Wisner, got to give Jaydon Blue, players of the game respectively, each reaching the century mark, almost 300 yards on the ground. Look, you got to give the line up front credit, controlling that line of scrimmage. I think the Texas O-line and the running back unit, players of the game tonight, by and large. The defense, gives up 3 touchdowns. Klubnik had himself a day, the Texas boy. But the defense bends but doesn't break, and you know that they're going to come out next week ready to get back on track and be their usual dominating selves. And for next week, Arizona State, Texas nearly 2 touchdown favorites. My final score prediction, 34-17. Texas gets the victory and goes on to face Ohio State in the semifinal. That's the plan. We'll see if it happens. But I'll be back a week from Wednesday to talk more Longhorns. We'll do our Cowboys show. Let's see, maybe late night tomorrow night. I think Cowboys is the Sunday night game, so we'll do a Cowboys show late night tomorrow after the Cowboys. Hopefully get a win against the Bucks. I don't know. I know a lot of people are cheering for the draft spot, but I can't do that. Got to cheer for a Cowboys win. Hopefully they beat up on the Bucks tomorrow. So we'll be live to talk Cowboys tomorrow night. If you want to talk NFL, you want to talk some more football, you want to talk Dallas Cowboys, I'll be back tomorrow night to do that. And then every Wednesday, I do a Texas Rangers offseason show discussing everything going on in the trade market, the free agent market. We'll talk all things Texas Rangers news, hot stove, acquisitions, all that good stuff. It'll be a lot of fun. So I'll be back tomorrow night and I'll be back Wednesday night. And that'll be Wednesday night. Ooh, is that Christmas? We'll have to see about that. I might have to make that a Thursday instead for real. I don't know if I'm trying to go live on Christmas. I might be hanging with the family on that day. We'll see. More on that later, but for sure, tomorrow night after the Cowboys game. I've gone on long enough. I appreciate all you guys. Hey, it was a great day to be a Longhorns fan. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Hope you have a great rest of the weekend. Enjoy the NFL games tomorrow. Merry Christmas to everybody. If I don't see you before then, hope y'all have a great Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, celebrating with friends and family. We will look to get back on track with our Texas Rangers offseason pod, either on Christmas Day Eve or on the Thursday following. But we'll be back in a week and a half for Longhorns. Come back and join us. But until next time, and as I always say to end every show, God bless and hook 'em.